Hi, Hung Yi. Yep. Welcome to live office hours at TimeBolt.
Yeah, it's good to see both of you, and I'm very happy to receive the email and to join this meeting. The fantastic service you offer, really appreciate it. It saved me a lot of time.
Excellent, excellent. Is there anything specific that we can help you out with today?
For me, I am fine with the software because I think everything is quite clear. But just wanted to join and to see if anyone share like the experience, and I can see if that I run it correctly.
Okay, great. What I'd like to do is just go ahead and start off with, I'm going to go ahead and just go through some settings and talk about our product updates that we've had this week. And once again, this is live office hours on March 17th, 2022. What I wanted to do first off is just kind of go through some settings, how to tweak these settings properly. Now, when you first open TimeBolt, this is what the default settings are. And the first thing that you're going to do before you do any type of editing inside TimeBolt, because if you change the settings, it will override your manual edits, okay, is just look at your audio waveform and make sure, okay, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you don't have audio like long S's and long T's, okay, like you see right here, that are getting cut off in red, right? Because those are actual words. You'll kind of notice how some of these trailing S's and T's. Now, the first thing people do is, okay, well, that makes sense. Let's just increase the right padding from 0.15 to 0.20. Well, that's not actually how you do it, okay? The first thing that you want to do when you have audio outside these boundaries is get your decibel levels right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the point where the red no longer gets into the audio waveform, these trailing sounds. So the first thing I'll do is pump this up to minus 40 dB, okay? So I do update silence detection settings, and as you can tell, that same period now right here is now in the red, in the green. So that's what we want, okay? So you just kind of scan your timeline, make sure that it's uniform throughout. All right, let's just go ahead and look. As you can tell, this is now all of your audio signatures are in the red. You didn't even have to touch the left and right padding. So see, and if this is something that is concerned to you, here's a little bit more in the red. You can begin to go up in increments, okay? So I do like minus 42, and this just happens at 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Hit update silence detection, boom, right? You didn't have to touch the left or right padding. You just got this completely out of the audio waveform. And then once you do this, you're typically going to record the same way a lot of people do. Once this is set, the next time that you open up TimeBolt, this will already be at minus 42. But if you're recording for clients, you're going to want to be able to alter these variables, okay? So we hit update silence detection. Now we're ready to edit the timeline. We added some quick key support, some new quick keys. So now to actually cut the timeline, sure, you can not learn a quick key and you can just go to create split, which as you can see right here creates a split in the timeline. Let's say I didn't like this word. I could do another create split and then go up and chop it off like that, right? Or now what we can do is you simply hit the S key, right? You simply hit the S key and it creates a split. One key creates a split from now on out. You don't have to remember S for split, right? Hit the S key, you're able to remove chunks like that. Okay. Another big, that's opposed to hitting Command B and two different keys at once. Okay. The next update that we did, if you hit the L key, okay, that's when you start previewing. And if you hit the L key twice, we now do 1.5x versus just jumping up to 2, which is like a sweet spot for a lot of people.
Which is stop fix. And do I have batteries?
And you can go up to 4x speed by hitting X, okay, or L. So now you can edit your commentary at a very comfortable 1.5x speed. The next update that we did is to our up and down arrow keys. You can now click up and down. You can hold it up, right? Look how, I can hold down the down button. And so essentially what it does is it skips to the next cut, up and down. So it allows you to quickly scan a timeline. If you had to go back in time to do that, that's what the up and down arrow keys come into play. It essentially acts like the O key, it just doesn't delete. Okay, so the O key is a very important key in TimeBolt. It basically turns keys on and off, right? You just hit O, O, O. You can also Command Z or Control Z undo previous edits that way. Okay.
That's very convenient.
Yes, yes. So that we can, the whole goal is to get you in and out of TimeBolt and either create video that's just good enough, that is no longer than it needs to be, or get you into Design Editor before you burn out cutting up a timeline.
Yes, that's great because I found that the TimeBolt I think just 2 weeks ago, and I found it is just amazing because I run some webinar, and sometimes I need to cut it, and it takes me and my team a lot of time. So I think it really appreciated you come up with this terrific idea and offer this fantastic service.
You also, so can you tell me a little bit about your webinar? Like how did you find TimeBolt? Like how long have you been doing it? Can you give me some background?
Yeah, sure, certainly. So I work for the university. So since like the COVID, university runs like education on the internet. And sometimes when we have this kind of seminar, we normally don't talk continuously. But when we wanted to attract those audience on the internet, those students to watch it, and we don't want to waste them too much time, we need to cut it and make it as condensed as possible. But before we normally do it by ourselves, our team use like some edit tool, but it takes a lot of time. And I think 2 weeks ago, we start applying this amazing tool. And for example, for 90 minutes a webinar, sometimes it can shorten to just 50 minutes.
Yes, humans need a lot of time to breathe and think and respond. And so you're talking about a 90-minute webinar, right? You're like that's a long webinar.
So it just surprised me a lot because I just cannot imagine actually 90 minutes seminar we just talk less than an hour, right?
And what do you think about like after you get the output? Like, I mean, for me, it's like, I feel like I've gained a few IQ points, right? When I share a video that I don't need time to think, pause, all those types of things. So when you've got a long webinar like that, a 90-minute webinar, it also may help to review what you're actually cutting out. And let's just say, this was important, or if you're a gamer and you want to speed up that section, right? Here, I'll do or not so much game. You could be doing gaming. You could be illustrating something in your webinar. What you come to realize with TimeBolt is that when you talk, it's on. When you're not, it's off, right? And so if you want to visually show something, you can control what you want to see by actually when you talk. So if you quit speaking, for example, let me do this flip timeline selection again. If you quit speaking, for example, I usually put this at 90 seconds because what you want to speed up is usually done by, you know exactly where in the video that occurs. And you just basically turn this to orange. And when you go to render the video, you can go up to a speed rate of 4x faster. You can control how you're editing with your voice and make it more visually appealing as well.
I see. So what you want to express is the video will still keep there, but we just accelerate the speed.
Exactly. So
whether the sound sounds a bit weird or it's just muted?
It's muted.
Okay.
Yeah, the audio, whatever happens underneath is muted.
Okay, it makes sense.
Yeah. And so it'll look like you're basically right. If you're a professor or whatever, you're writing on a chalkboard. Hi, I'm Doug Wolf.
Right.
You don't have to watch me write out Doug Wolf. So it's really been a game changer. What we're limited to with speed up silences is that you cannot export these in XML, or we can't transfer to XML if you're going to design in another editor. Okay, so you have to render your video inside TimeBolt at this time for fast forwarding to work. That's something that we think is a priority and we want to get put in place. You're essentially adding a render queue, hit start rendering. You can also even speed up. When you're talking, but again, the audio will be muted. See, that happens at 2 minutes and 51 seconds. Simply hit start rendering, and then go eat a sandwich. Take a break. You're coming back, and your video's done. Right?
It's Sean. I usually have my camera on, but it's being a disaster, so I don't want to unrig it. Took the shortcut idea that we talked about on Zoom that day.
Yes,
that's really cool.
Was split. Yes, no. This is where we get a lot of ideas, and certainly my co-founder Quinston is able to join the conversation. He's sick today, so I apologize. And I know you've got a really interesting file case that we're still trying to figure out, Sean.
If I exported the FCP XML for Final Cut, it would drive the whole thing off. But if I rendered it in TimeBolt, it was fine. And I'm like, what? It was really weird. And then I ended up moving it to you probably saw my license move around. I moved it over to my MacBook to try there because I'm like, is it my main computer? I was just having all sorts of, it was doing the same thing on the MacBook. So I'm like, okay, it might just be the codec Panasonic chose to use. It could just be the way they implement H.265. So I can look into that. It's not the big deal. As long as we have these edit tools, like the shortcuts now, that would make life a lot easier because then, it could have just been a glitch with the clip. Who knows? Yes,
it's so hard to tell. There's a couple models of Sony cameras that we cannot figure out, what if it's an audio or video codec. And I mean, Quinston's brilliant with this stuff. And I mean, we've gone deep, but it's 95% of the time that's some settings issue, but then 5% of the time there's some unique file codec from some new Sony camera that we just haven't experienced. And
we saw with the one clip where I did it once, and I remember the YouTube clip where I'm like, it's gonna do it, and I did the whole recording, and I'm like, oh my god, it worked.
Yes, yeah. He sent in a troubleshooting ticket that was saying, which was going to show how bad, what the error was, and then all of a sudden it worked. We hate in these special use cases to ask this, but it's something where if your file is acting wonky, right, and you have these settings and you follow the same process, and you're not some people come in with 0.1 right here, and rendering in TimeBolt and ask why is it taking 15 hours. That's just when you decrease these values, you can go down to about 0.2 when you're exporting XML. Okay, but we don't recommend anything less than 0.5.
Yeah, well, that's why I was like, can you send me the default settings so that way I can make sure that it's not my end,
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, I'm if I'm pronouncing this right, Hung Yi, your use case with seminars, that is game changing, because to go through 90 minutes of video to cut it down to something reasonable for online, any video platform, is huge. Absolutely huge.
Yes, exactly. I think sometimes university professor waste student too much time. I just realized after using this software.
Yeah, no, it's good. You can get made the main points across, and it puts you ahead of everybody else. So that's fantastic. Right
now, I teach remotely, but I'm sure they are happy to see that the length of video is getting short.
Yeah, and how do you capture that video? In Zoom, there is a button that says enable for third-party editors. Okay, and what that does is that simple recording option, that setting turns it to record in constant frame rate versus variable frame rate. They'll record, Zoom will record in variable frame rate if you're recording to the cloud or your computer, and it's basically to save file size. But that causes issues inside third-party editors that cause it to glitch and skip, and it just doesn't operate properly inside third-party editors. And so you're just capturing inside Zoom. That makes absolute sense.
Right.
You have enabled third-party editor. Do you have that option selected in your Zoom?
Maybe I need to check with our team, my team.
Wait, so you're saying it's a variable bitrate issue that's causing it? Is that what you were saying, Doug? About
I think it's frame rate.
Variable frame rate.
Yes.
That would make sense, because the problem is it might have a tag of like 29.97, but it'll drop to like 22 at certain points if it doesn't need, just to save on bandwidth in terms of capturing. I know my camera can do variable frame rate, but I usually turn that stuff off. But I have to double check because now I'm wondering if that's what's causing the issue, and that's why some of the videos work. That's interesting.
Right. So perhaps the best way to do it might not be use Zoom recording itself, but need to use like the third party's software to do it. Yes.
Okay.
Now select preference.
Yeah, preferences. Believe it's okay. So this button right here.
Optimized for third-party video editor.
Yeah.
So should I select it or?
Absolutely. Just select that in your Zoom, and if not, what'll happen is as you're previewing, it'll like stop on each jump, for like a half a second, and as opposed to just going, flying through, and that can get a little annoying.
Okay, great. That's very helpful because I just check on my computer. I don't select it.
Yeah. There's also another program that is infamous for recording in variable frame rate is inside PowerPoint. PowerPoint, when you record inside PowerPoint, this file spits out and it is ugly inside TimeBolt just because of how it's recorded. And so what I recommend in those instances that you get something like OBS or a screen capture. TimeBolt has that, right? At this time, the limitation, before we go out and really promote it's in beta, at this time, the limitation is you can only capture one screen, but you can do any mic, you can do any video source, you can overlay yourself on top of, PowerPoint if you're looking. But just to capture that, and something like OBS or TimeBolt will really solve those problems as opposed to doing it in PowerPoint. It's just the way they capture video that's completely unusable inside video editors.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful because obviously I'm not an expert in this field, but I think it's very good to learn from both of you.
We just created new pages for faster onboarding that basically organizes the content around how you're going to export. So for example, Hung-Yi,
Yes.
if I was going to do this, if I'm rendering to my computer, which is what you do, these are the steps, the settings.
Oh, that's great. Step by step.
Step by step, and basically everything that you know how to edit video and render it to your computer. All our troubleshooting, say you're getting glitchy playback or you want to have lossless rendering, and links out to our community forum and video hub that all just open up new pages. So you can basically keep this page up, and learn how to use TimeBolt in, 10 to 15 minutes and never look back. When it comes to capturing, I don't know if you do any capture outside of Zoom. One of our priorities is to streamline our capture process. Vision on our end is to be able to, you capture obviously any webcam screen, both screens, but after you capture that video is automatically pushed right into TimeBolt. So, you don't have, it saves a couple clicks. It's just more integrated and, a streamlined workflow. So you can get all this done using one software program versus two.
Okay, that's great.
For quick video things, if let's say you've got to make a colleague a video, you've got a troubleshooting ticket to explain, you've got to respond to a customer, those types of instances, we think a better capture is going to help out our customers a lot.
Thank you very much, Doc, for
Sure,
your
absolutely.
valuable time today. I learned a lot from you and also DJ Buddha. Really appreciate it.
No worries.
Sure.
I'm really glad to hear it's working for you. That's awesome. It's really awesome.
Sean, do you want to, were you able to record that segment?
5
Sorry,
minutes.
guys, I might need to leave earlier. Yeah, it's
Great.
good to meet you.
Good meeting you, Hung-Yi. Thanks again for choosing TimeBolt.
Okay, have a lovely day.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
We said earlier.
New update available. So let's do the new update.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Where is
Here, I don't think you updated it.
I know. Let's close and reopen. Or
Yeah, that's what you have to do. You have to.
there we go. Okay, awesome. Update now. There we go.
So let's just show what the process. Oh, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, it's the beast computer. So
Oh.
this
It's fast. It's like 5-6 seconds faster than mine.
Still importing the media.
For the next live office hours, I will go ahead and find some of these files that we've gotten, and I'll have those queued up next time so that I can show what the behavior's like. Toying with it here, but I'll go ahead and do you see how the S key and
that is amazing. And then you can just go and that's so much better. That's like if I wanted to like add instead of going and reanalyzing it, I can literally just go here. That's a game changer.
Nice.
Like that. And then Command Z will undo everything. So okay. So like
we're not allowed to talk to Quinston. He has COVID.
Yeah.
Oh,
Poor guy.
I think I have COVID.
And we were
the variable frame rate up. Yeah, that's the thing. Like when you record in Zoom, you have that tick box, that checkbox which says
a lot of cameras they default to variable frame rate. Now mine, I'm 90% sure I set it to constant because I don't like anything that's variable. Like I'm not a fan of that. In the production space that I'm in, I really try to keep things constant. So, but I'll check on my camera when I take it off the mount and everything.
you take the original recorded file, you render it, from Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro, and then you run it through TimeBolt to see if there's variable frame rate issues or it's constant frame rate issues.
Random question: TimeBolt accepts ProRes or no?
I think it does. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
I record all my video with my iPhone 12 Max, right? And
ABC.
And then also a lot of TikTok content creators use their iPhone. Lots of content's captured on iPhone, and it's been a big feature request is to be able to preview your video, obviously. And the idea of looking at API native through Apple is a great idea.
Yeah, it'll probably be there. I know I was working with the guys from Mix Emergency, and if you noticed in my handbrake settings, I have this setting called keyframe interval, and it's at the 25. These are for our work files. So I was talking to the guys, and I'm like, I keep getting the stupid error. And he was like, well, you have to add the string. But he goes, little thing though, Apple enables hardware acceleration by default now. It's like, I actually have to get rid of the stupid hardware acceleration setting in our software because it doesn't make a difference once you're on Monterey. If they make it that accessible, it should be fairly easy to plug it in to your Mac app. And then for Windows, I feel like they must offer something, or there's got to be something with the codec that'll just play.
If we can just handle Mac on Mac H.265 with an iPhone, I think we'd be knocking out a big.
Oh, it's a huge win.
That's
a
the problem.
Win.
It'd be a huge win for us.
Yeah.
This update with the shortcuts. You guys are hilarious, but I love it. After our last conversation about the shortcut keys, this just simplifies it so much. So that is amazing.
Excellent. No, we appreciate you jumping online and making the product better for everyone and sharing your suggestions.
Right. So you basically don't have to deal with variable frame rates or any of those things when you're working in TimeBolt.
Right.
But what happens is when you're exporting an XML file, to calculate the cuts and where the cuts are placed, you need the frame rate.
Frame rate,
yeah. So the problem is that when you have variable frame rate, because TimeBolt is using a constant frame rate, and it just takes one frame rate from the file, which the file provides, which is the average frame rate. The average frame rate is not technically the frame rate; it's just an average of all the variable frame rates that are given to TimeBolt.
Of course,
which is why the XML causes an issue. But if you export it directly from TimeBolt, it works fine because there you don't really care about the frame rate, you're using time durations.
So then I think that might be your note. It would just be if your files are variable, right, you use TimeBolt to export, because if you make an XML, it's not going to work.
Yeah, that's why when we talk about Zoom recordings, we always have that checkbox thing where you need to check that, to make it constant frame rate.
All right.
I don't know if that's like the one thing you can do to figure it out is to re-render the file. Like re-render the file using.
Given what you said, that makes sense. Given what happened to me last time, because remember I said I exported it from TimeBolt, it was fine, but as soon as I put it in XML, it was a disaster.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. Like take the same file, re-render it using constant frame rate, like because it'll be constant frame rate when you go into Final Cut Pro, right, and you export it there, and then you put it in a TimeBolt.
I think the problem on the Panasonic is there's knobs on the top, and sometimes you're adjusting ISO and you hit a knob and it could change your recording settings.
What?
Oh, the Mark II drives me crazy because they added extra
my God.
shortcuts, and I'm a camera noob, So like my videos look good, but when I went to TimeBolt something, I'm like, why did this video work and this one didn't? So I'm gonna have to like basically go in the camera and disable like every stupid shortcut button so I don't hit something by accident, and then just lock it to a custom setting with a constant frame rate.
Yeah, so, no, test that out and let us know on the community forum what shakes out and what you find, and we'll take a look. We'll just move forward from there. We'll hope you get better, Quinston. Thank you so much for joining us, Sean. And that concludes our Thursday live office hours with TimeBolt. Smash the like, hit the subscribe button.
Do the stuff the YouTubers tell you to.
Yeah, just slam it, right?
Professionals.
So, yeah, do what the professionals ask. All right, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Take care.